So today's question, is college a scam? I see a lot of podcasts that discuss this topic, and I see a lot of things on the internet, and I find it interesting because obviously it's not a scam because there are a lot of careers that require a college education, and you would not get into that career had you not had the degree for it, right? So it's not a scam for that. I think people are talking about the basic 4-year degree that is pretty much a rehash of the classes that you took in high school, much like the degree I got that took me 5.5 years that I have never used. So I'm one of the people that sits back and says, not a scam, but what I think college is a gigantic money making machine. And I say that because I went through it. And I got into the machine at 17 and I got out of the machine at 22. And that's what I want to talk about over the next couple of videos. I graduated high school in 1990 down in South Florida. And if any of you are watching this and you graduated around that time, or you knew anybody who did, you might not, or you might know the frame of mind that we were all in at that time. That was 30 some odd years ago. We were convinced that without a college education, you didn't have a chance, right? It's like college had a huge marketing department with an unlimited budget. And they were like, we have to go over two groups of people. We have to attack two groups to really convince them that they need to keep funding this big money making machine. We're going to start with the parents. And then they would go to the parents and they would talk to them and they would say, you love your kids, right? Well, yes, we do. You want them to have a better life than you had, right? Well, of course we do. Well, you know, the key to that is a college education. And then the parents are like, well, that sounds good. What's that going to cost? And then the guilt sets in. That's when the marketing department for the college people were like, you can't put a price on your child's happiness. What are you, selfish? It doesn't matter what it costs. So then you get generations of parents just saving up all this money, sacrificing things that they might have spent on themselves to make life a little bit more enjoyable to save up for college. Okay, that's fine. That's neither here nor there. I think we've all saved up for our kids for stuff like that. But then the marketing department knew that they had to get in with the kids too. And that started, man, I don't even remember. It was early high school where everything was a prep for college. You know, it was like, you've got to go to college. Where are you going to go to college? And I just remember being a kid going, I don't even like school. I really don't want to do 4 more years of it. But I mean, if I have any chance at being successful in life, I guess I have to do it. We all got convinced of that. And I don't want to use the term brainwashed, but there might have been a little bit of that because a lot of people with college educations will be watching this going, Matt, come on, that sounds uneducated. That sounds dumb. Keep in mind, I got my college education. And again, we'll talk about how the fact that I never used it or anything. So it's just one of those things. But I think the looking down on people that don't have a college education, I think that's changing because people are realizing a lot of them with the degrees are going, man, I spent a lot of time and a lot of money doing that and I never used it. The day I got out of college, I got a job doing something different. I've got people right now, good friends of mine that are my age with college age kids that got their degree, they got out and not only did they not get a job in their field, they didn't want a job in the field that they got out. So they're doing something totally different. They could have started that right out of high school and had 4 or 5 years in already. So there's a lot of arguments to be made for and against it. But I love when I see the college scam. I think it's a great little tagline because I always have to look at it and check it out. The interesting thing is I watch a couple people like Patrick Bet-David on the PBD podcast, and he talks about that, not calling college a scam, but he mentions the fact that in our cell phones now, basically everything we learned in that 4-year degree, we can have instantaneously. We don't have to go to a classroom to learn it anymore. It's all right there. And it's instant. We don't even have to type anything in anymore. You just ask Siri or whatever, and they answer it for you. So that's interesting. And guys like Mike Rowe are talking about doing the trades. I think that's great. And finally, more and more people are talking about that because I think there were generations of young people that grew up that were ashamed that they didn't go to college. And if you didn't go to college, there's nothing to be ashamed of. All right. So keep that in mind. And if your kid didn't go to college, there's nothing to be ashamed of there either. You know, it's all about being happy in this life and finding your niche and what you want to do. But let's go back to when I graduated because, you know, like we said, didn't have the money to go to college or anything like that. I knew it was on me to get scholarships. So I did. I was lucky. I got the Florida Academic Scholarship, and that allowed me to go to a school of my choosing. So that covered the room and the board and the books, tuition, and I even got the meal plan. I had to keep up a 3.2 GPA to keep that. And I'm sure they told me, but I forgot about that. And I discovered alcohol and partying and all that. So I lost that real quick. So, then I had to go to work. But that's another story for another thing. What I want to talk about is when I graduated high school and I was trying to find the direction of where to go. It was interesting because the guidance counselor was like, Matt, well, you test good on the math parts of these standardized tests, so you ought to go into engineering, right? So there I am, senior in high school. The person comes down from UCF. We get my schedule ready to go. And that August, I move up to the University of Central Florida into the dorms, into Orange Hall. I don't even know if that's still there anymore. And that is where I will stop for today. When we pick up the next video, that will be where I started attending classes. And that is really when my eyes started opening and I had a lot of questions. So we'll see you when we talk about that.